yeah, just going straight into some drawing. And so Creature says that the link is not working on the homepage of
Probably
reinventing.
just got to click refresh. It's how I got here.
Well, just click refresh. Okay. Let me see. I'm gonna type real quick and then get right back to the drawing, everybody. Maybe.
Wait. Hmm?
Hmm? Oh, the YouTube link seems to not be working or whatever.
Just send everybody to the homepage of reinventingthetattoo.com. Go down to the Google event, and the latest link is there.
Okay.
I don't think there's
Well,
any links.
I think well somebody so I think I'm not sure if YouTube is working. Maybe. Let's check.
I would just run with it. It's working. We got 16 viewers. Hey,
Oh,
let us
okay.
know in the chat rooms that you're watching. And there's an old YouTube event from the misfire, but and again, the main thing is when people are beaming in to make sure that you turn off the stream in the background. That was the cause of the echo panic earlier. But you can just run with the show. Do it up. Of course, we may have lost your audio. That's funny. Let us know in the chat room if you could hear us. James, you chatting, James? I'm not sure we're hearing your audio, James. Let us know in the chat room if so. This is Drawing for Tattooers with James Wisdom, live every Monday. You could join in if you head to the homepage of Reinventing the Tattoo. There's a link. We're going to get James's audio back on momentarily. Oh, nope, James, I'm not able to hear you, I don't think. Let us know in the chat room. Can you hear James? This is funny. He was talking just moments ago. Maybe he took off his headphones? Oh, hold on. Well, ironically, the issues that we were having earlier were all about echo panic, but that's because we had a streamer who was playing it in the background. Now we've got James with no audio, although he was talking earlier. Maybe the power ran out on the headphones. If you go to your audio settings, James, you can click on the buttons. Maybe your Zoom took over the audio. We've got 30 people watching now, watching a train wreck. But the beauty is, if you want, as soon as we James, you got it, your audio. Ah, no, it's not working. Can you do sign language? No. So when you click on your audio settings, the microphone is set to something that's actually microphonable. Um, we were hearing you previously, so somehow it was working, but now it decides to have stopped. You might try logging out and logging back in. Now I'm hearing music. Why don't I, let's see here. Why don't I find a video? Find a video here, and then we'll, let's see, video, share a video from the restream. I'm going to share a video, and then you could log out and log back in while this is, oh man, I only have boring stuff here. So James, I'm hearing that audio as you're changing it. Well, if we can't get your mic back, not sure, James. Did you try quitting and coming back in? Try quitting and coming back in. I only have boring videos that I could play. Well, James, first quit on out and then come back in. Maybe even restart your computer. We could have, or unless you want to just cut it. Ha, I think he may have muted me. Now he's coming back. That's good. So, Creature, it says your microphone disallowed use. You might need to allow the use. We'll see if James makes it back in here. I have old videos, but I'm not going to subject you to them. Let's see here.
All right, I can hear you now.
Oh, James, here we go. You're back.
So were you working the whole time? I couldn't tell. I couldn't hear you at all. You must have been.
I was talking and working, yeah, because I'll run into the other room and then it'll work and then it won't work. Or I'll come back here. But hey, let me bow out. Why don't you cross the fingers on this microphone issue? We'll catch up. There's still people. There's still 25 plus people watching. Thank you for bearing with us, everyone.
Yeah, that's excellent. Thank you everyone for sticking around. This is Drawing for Tattooers. I'm your host James Wisdom, and you're joining us live on the Reinventing the Tattoo Network. Okay, so oh, uh, he is faking. Oh no, that's not true. I am um so all right, we did some warm-up sketches and so now I just want to do a few stretches, right? And so the way to think about these stretches, so if you hold your hands out, right? This is the pronated version, right? So your hand is pronated, supinated, right? Like you're holding soup, pronated like down. Um, and so if you want to stretch the extensors, right? We're gonna hold our wrist, right? We're gonna push back just a little bit like this. All right, hold it for a few seconds. All right, and this is stretching the extensors. All right, go the other way, right? There we go. Let's do the other side. Again, pull back. All right. 2, 3. Hold it, everybody. All right. Put your hands together. We'll just do a little bit of stretching, a little bit of flexion. It's going to make a big difference. It really is. Okay. Shake it out. Very good. Well, so a little frazzled from all the technical difficulties today, but I really am grateful that that you're still with us and that we're able to gather together and do this sort of daily drawing practice. Um, with this new streaming platform that we're using, I thought it was sort of a really great time to kind of to sort of reflect on what it is that we're really trying to do here, and that is encourage you to have a daily drawing practice. So every week we get together, we talk about the fundamentals of art, design, and we try to draw a little bit, right? Some warm ups, at least, some stretching. We've been doing that recently, and that's, I think, something I really worked into my everyday. And so I hope that that's like a positive thing in your life. I think it can be really difficult, sort of go off this idea of just draw every day. Um, there has to be some kind of motivation that's involved, right? Uh, Now, there's really two main kinds of motivation. There's intrinsic motivation and extrinsic motivation. And so when we think about that, like, why is it that you're doing what you're doing? Right? Do you have the intrinsic motivation to try to draw something every day to sort of improve your art, or is it all extrinsic? Like, are you doing it for a grade? Is it just because it's your job? Right? These sorts of extrinsic motivators, they can be really limiting, right? They can, in a way, kind of suck the joy out of it, right? They can take the fun away. Um, but having this drive, the intrinsic drive to want to dig down and do some of this work, I think is uh, it's something that I am always really trying to find, and I'm always I'm always sort of pushing myself to realize like what is it that you know what is it that I'm really going for? What is my art going to be about? I think if you know if you already know what your art's about, then there's really no reason to make it. It really should be something that you are constantly trying to rediscover about yourself. And so um, the way that I have been finding that I can have a daily drawing practice is to think about drawing in different ways. And so the thing that is so valuable, for your own professional development, for your own like capacity to make up new ideas to get it out on paper. Um, I think starts with thumbnailing, ideation. Ideation can be a lot of different things. It can be making a list of words. It can also be doing image searches, making a you know an inspiration board or a mood board. Like you find all sorts of like colors that you like, shapes that you find interesting. Putting those inspirations together, that ideational sort of library, if you like, it's going to help you um, when it when you are searching for something to work on, searching for something to draw. So sitting down, thinking of drawing in different ways, it's not just a pure finished drawing all the time. It can actually be mm, it can actually be something um, that's very rough, right? This really, sort of loose ellipse drawings that we do in the beginning of the stream. I I do think that those can be very useful. Um, Also, putting together really loose thumbnail sketches. Um, these can also be something that's invaluable to your process. And so, um, here we go. Good morning, Spirit.
It's working.
Good morning.
Hey, Spirit, could you turn your camera sideways?
Oh yeah.
Or maybe not. Let's just, if it's working, let's not fix it.
It's working, I think.
How much hassle could turning a phone do?
Well, I don't know
Ah,
today. It's
fantastic. He's back. Whew.
yeah, I don't know today. It's the struggle is real today, that's for sure. So, well,
And
anyway, so I was like talking about thumbnails and stuff. I was talking about like trying to come up with a way to be able to draw every day, an intrinsic motivation, if you like. So, hmm, so I figured that it would be, it'd be kind of interesting, and maybe I can share this with you. Um, this is something that I think is, well, I hope he doesn't mind, really. But let's see. I'm gonna share my screen. This, cool. Right. So this is, oh, it might very well be. hmm,
it looks like it's working. Are you screen sharing reinventing?
I was. Could you hear anything I was saying?
I'm not sure.
Can you-
I started to.
I'll try one more time and let me know if you can hear me. Can you
Yeah,
hear me? Okay.
perfectly.
All right. So, all right. Very good. Well, this is reinventing the tattoo. It's part of the content that you get from, from subscribing. And so I wanted to share this because this is really kind of, it's what I was thinking about when I was talking about you know, about how do you draw every day? How do you have a daily drawing practice that's really going to, um, you know, be a positive thing in your life? How are you going to sort of go about this, right? And so this drawing, a brief primer, this is Guy Atchison's take on it, and I'd like to read through it with you now. So he's opening up the book and he's telling us, kind of giving us the sort of um, this very sort of an opening chat, if you like, right? So he says, we have a lot of ground to cover here, ranging from design to technique to digital tools and working on other mediums. Every part of this curriculum, though, is dependent on one central part of our artistic toolbox: drawing. Drawing is one of those things that is absolutely fundamental to our activities as tattooers, while at the same time being a sort of invisible part of our lives. So much emphasis is placed on tattooing technique and so much attention on the finished tattoo that it can be easy to forget about the core importance of good drawing. Much of what comes from having good drawing habits. So most of you reading this tutorial will already have some experience drawing, but bear with me here because there are some things that you can work into your drawing habits that will greatly empower you as an artist and a professional. So the first thing worth mentioning is to simply not take the act of drawing for granted. It's something that takes time, and if you're a busy person, it may make sense to schedule that drawing time into your life. You may also find that there are different levels of drawing. Some parts of the job that require full immersion, like the initial thumbnailing stage or our first refinement pass, while other parts of the job can be done easily while sitting around with your family with a movie on, such as the final stenciling pass. Every artist needs to figure out what works or doesn't work for them to make sure that there's room in their lives for drawing, and that the drawing gets the time that it deserves. And also, every artist needs to figure out how comfortable they are with drawing in the presence of their clients and how much influence they are willing to give the client while actively designing. Some artists like to get all the input ahead of time and then later work on it quietly by themselves, while others thrive off having the client peering over their shoulder and making input on the fly, which can go a number of different ways depending on the client, but that's another story. I'm not going to take sides in terms of digital versus analog drawing. Instead, I'll encourage artists to keep both practices in their lives, since they represent two overlapping skill sets that complement each other. Some of the reasons I personally keep a paper sketchbook around have to do with convenience and immediacy, but I'll acknowledge that that is a part of a habit as well. And I like the feel of paper and the act of holding a sketchbook. And these acts are rooted in deep habits that go way back from my youth. For artists who experience mainly tablet-based drawing all their lives, paper may feel alien and needlessly limiting. However, those limitations are where analog drawing derives much of its power. And if you make a point of doing some early stages of drawing on paper, you may find that it takes you places where digital tools don't. However, most artists, digital drawing tools have simply too many benefits to ignore. In my own case, I usually move my drawings to digital format after the first or second stage of analog drawing. This way I can get the benefits of paper for my initial thought processes combined with the flexibility and versatility of digital tools. I use both Photoshop and Procreate, which are both discussed later in the digital tools section of the book. Daily habits. Part of finding success in any activity comes from creating good day-to-day habits that encourage growth. If you were a musician, you'd expect to practice every day, or you'd gradually lose your skill set, or at the very least, not improve as much as you'd like. Some of these daily practices are relatively automatic for the purpose of warming up, such as doing scales, working up and down the notes until it feels smooth. There are similar things we can do when drawing to warm up. As artists, we want everything to look great. For some of us, this makes it harder to do intentionally loose or rough drawings, but it's one of the best things that we can do to warm up. I've heard many artists tell me about how they feel that every page in their sketchbook needs to count, so that the whole book looks good when flipping from cover to cover. As understandable as this may seem, it kind of sidesteps the usefulness of doing much rougher warm-up drawings. Um, Here's a helpful tip, right? There's always the option of keeping multiple sketchbooks, including cheaper spiral books for knocking out quicker drawings, and then some nicer books meant for more finished works. When drawing digitally, you have infinite pages, so it's easier to move from a rough sketch without feeling the page is wasted. A lot of artists simply delete the less promising sketches and start over again. Another option is to create a new layer for each rough sketch. An advantage of this is that most promising ones can be developed further on separate layers if need be. I recommend naming these files after the client with quote rough unquote or rough suffix to signify that they're multiples or not. For example, Alex P underscore roughs. In Procreate, you can keep files related to a given project in a stack, the equivalent of using subfolders and for Photoshop files. You'll find that good organizing habits will save you a long time in the long run. Consistency in your file name conventions is key. If you have a client come back to you after several years, you'll want to access their old files. You'll wish you had a system for naming these files and folders. For regular clients, keep a single folder with all their projects filled with subfolders for each major piece, and be habitual in how you name things. And so this is really an important housekeeping thing to do, but of course it takes daily intrinsic motivation right, to make sure that you do it. So back to the idea of daily drawing habit, regardless of your chosen medium. Experiment with getting 15 to 20 minutes of casual sketching done in your morning, possibly over coffee. Small sketchbook can be great for this. Warm up, maybe sketch some waves or some flames, draw a tree or parked car outside your window, turn them into hybrid creatures. It doesn't matter what you draw. The idea is to cultivate a daily habit of warming up and having a period of drawing time, regardless of what the rest of your day's agenda might look like. Other drawing related habits will have to do with your tattoo projects. There aren't enough of these that they're worth listing bullet point form, right? Um, so again, like was just mentioned, start a project folder for each major tattoo that you're doing. Be thorough with your consultations. Keep any image that your client sends. For larger work, get photos of the body part where the piece will be going. When using search engines, don't use the first page. Keep searching, right? Look for something that's a little bit further back in the in the search. Start with a number of small thumbnail sketches. Guy recommends a minimum of 3, but 8 is not extravagant. Thumbnail sketches should be small and quick enough that doing 8 of them isn't a big deal. Again, if one thumbnail sketch seems like the obvious candidate, move to a bigger file and size it up to a decent pixel resolution. Lighten the layer and start a new one. You can make a few passes over this, right? And this will help you refine this very rough thumbnail to something much more polished. If you like elements of different sketches, start a new one that brings those elements together like a rough master sketch, and then size it up and create a refinement layer. Once you have a reasonably good second pass, try using a combination of liquify or warp tools in Procreate or Photoshop and refine the size and flow of larger shapes. Continue doing refinement layers until stencil-ready drawing is complete. There's many more steps than that in reality, but this list gives you a pretty good overview of the workflow involved in this kind of project, that is one that involves drawing in your own hand as opposed to simply tracing reference images. References are great, and in the case of realism tattoos, there may not be much drawing outside of careful interpretation of the reference. However, at present, we are discussing the crafting of our images from our imaginations, with or without the use of reference material. For most artists, this means beginning with a few thumbnail sketches. All right, thumbnailing. And this was really the most important thing that I wanted to talk about today. So, I'm glad we got a chance to get to here, right? So thumbnailing, one common bad habit is to get involved with detail too early in the drawing process. Maybe the design will be featuring a face and the artist might be excited about the face having ideas about how they want it to look. As a result, the facial features end up getting dialed in before the rest of the composition has been established. The thumbnailing step is intended to prevent these problems. The idea is to start the design process at a small enough size that it's not really an option to get lost in detailing, because those initial efforts should be directed towards the rough layout instead. By rough layout, I mean sizing and positioning the design elements. We call these thumbnails sketches because of their small size. For me, this means somewhere between a postage stamp and a playing card size. While working digitally, it simply means to shrink the canvas to this size. I do most of my thumbnailing in graphite on paper, mainly because it is the most intuitive for me from long practice. Many younger artists may find it uncomfortable doing it all digitally. There is no correct answer except that it should be medium you feel most comfortable with and intuitive while using. There's some fantastic thumbnail sketches by Guy Aitchison here. Again, these are likely very small, simply just the jurisdiction of his hand. And then over here to the right, we can see just a few other sort of thinking through what these larger shapes are going to entail. Um, okay, so these figures, there's a small page of painting thumbnails, right? And then two versions of the same small sketch exploring different positive negative relationships for a neck tattoo. These are all graphite on paper in a small sketchbook. You can see the first example, how I've subdivided the page and done several small sketches at the same size, even though the shading takes only a minute or two and allows for a quick exploration of positive and negative relationships and the use of gradients. If I find something that needs to be changed, often it's easier just to start a new sketch than erase and alter existing sketches. If I make a good sketch that I like, I'll do a couple slightly altered versions, or if it's just for good measure, I'll virtually never stop at the first sketch. Below in this figure is an example of the thumbnailing process that I use for working with references. I keep the reference images visible to the right on the left side of my canvas, and then I'll subdivide the remaining area into 4 sections, in this case, oval areas that have been marked out. And I'll size the canvas on my tablet screen so the ovals are no longer playing card size. This example is from one of our Monday night exercises where we start each session by doing 4 quick thumbnails, 3 to 5 minutes each. And I'll take a moment and remind members that these exercises are highly recommended. Part of the reason for doing multiple sketches on the same panel is to remind myself that I'm busting out quick sketches. The temptation to start development and detail always is there, even with the smallest of sketches. I found that when I've started by subdividing the sheet, then I will feel committed to filling out the spaces that I've outlined. And in general, I'll be thinking more quickly. It's part of the daily reinforcement of what I believe is an important positive drawing habit, to start with a number of quick thumbnails before committing to the development stage. In some cases, I will end up back on the first sketch. This first one is often the combination of elements that I had initially thought of as the most obvious. And in subsequent sketches, sometimes I won't find a better one. But this is rare. Most times, the first sketch is visibly the worst. The initial missteps taken to get the drawing process started. I will sometimes find that I don't have a favorite sketch in the batch. In these cases, I will look for the best parts and see if there are ways that I can combine some of these elements into a single drawing. With the pumpkin sketches, the decisions made about size and placement in the fourth drawing were informed by doing the first 3. So I felt this was the best pick. Once a preferred thumbnail sketch has been selected, one of these that has all the good bones of a good drawing, then development can begin. For me, this will often happen at a fairly small scale too. When doing this development step digitally, I'll duplicate the layer, lay my grid with my grid on small sketches, turn one of them off, expand the sketch. The whole canvas is made fairly small on the screen. And once I've dialed in the basic placement and flow, then I'll allow myself the option to zoom in and get more particular. So again, we can kind of see this, development from this very rough sort of, stage to a much more refined one. Um, This is how Guy is doing it. And if I'm doing this development on paper, I'll let's see. Oh, lost my place. There is a very specific reason why I recommend doing this stage of development at this size, right? The smaller size. Good flow is hard to fake, but if you find that you don't overthink the process and let your hand find its natural movements by drawing quick, loose gestures, most of the lines in the design will appear fluid. Um, at this particular size, the hand is able to navigate around the entire drawing without requiring the efforts of the whole arm to move it around. This places the entire drawing area within the jurisdiction of the bones and muscles of the hand, which possess their own fluid mechanics, which as an artist, you want to tap into and make good use. Um, you've heard the term the artist hand, which refers to a particular style and look of each artist's drawings. This is a thing that happens partly because the artist's preferences and tastes, but it's also largely a result of the particular size and structure of the hand itself. Every hand is unique, um, and we each use our hands a little differently. By developing the drawing at the modest size, you'll be able to tap directly into the flow and structure that your physical anatomy embodies. You'll find that there are certain diagonal movements, S curves, and arcs that flow from you most effortlessly. These smooth arcs are much harder to lay out in larger scale because they require the efforts of the arm. Wrist and hand working all together can compromise the simple purity of the movement. Okay. So, how far to develop each drawing is going to be different for each artist and for every project. So, I'm creating a design that incorporates several references and involves complexity, interactions between the elements. I'll be making a full size color rendering, mostly in digital form. For a biomix sleeve, I might have a dozen rough thumbnails and larger sketches that have gone through further development, but much of each stage of the drawing will be happening directly on the client's skin with markers. As for the cover-up project shown above, you will be able to know in your heart with confidence that you've done all the right amount of preparation for each project. Goal is to be able to sit down with your client and move forward without wasting any valuable time. Take a moment and appreciate this process. So many thumbnails digitally rendered here across the top. Um, And then again, when it comes time to draw with a marker, the guy's made a really simple plan for himself, that he was able to really effectively develop a much more interesting composition. Um, but again, these humble beginnings, right? Before you can get to this good stuff, right? There's a bit of endurance that you're gonna have to undergo. Okay, so is it possible to do too much preparation? The final process of actually tattooing should not just be a clinical step of reproducing a completely resolved design. I believe it's important to leave some room for discovery and invention in the tattooing process. This keeps it engaging for the artist. The simple act of duplication can feel like a chore if there isn't room for artistic exploration. You'll learn from experience where the threshold is, where you are prepared and confident. But you also know that there's a lot of fun discoveries ahead. um, this is the tattooer's sweet spot. With all good habits, with these good art habits, you'll be able to do most of your tattooing while sitting in this zone, this sweet spot. Regardless of how you choose to work, digitally or analog, developing these drawing habits will empower you to get the most ideas stencil ready in fewer steps, and with better results. We'll put these ideas into practice on Monday nights exercises. So come with us to draw. Uh, okay, very good. So there we go. Thank you for for sharing that with me. I really like that initial opening chat that Guy gives to us, um, and it's echoed in a lot of art teachers. They echo this exact same sentiment. um, of being able to stay loose, not being so precious with your initial drawings, allowing something to develop. uh, these are really important. And so I think it would be nice if we can do a little bit of sketching do a little bit of drawing right now. So, so if you're still with me, I'd love to invite you to draw along. I'm going to try to share my screen again, and we'll see if it will work. Hmm, maybe. Mm, bummer. Well, I'm not going to be able to share my drawing screen with you. We're going to work out some of the kinks here with our new streaming platform. But if you're here with me, I'd love to hear you. Let's see. Spirits here. Got a few people watching. Check out the chat.
There is a QR code in the upper left-hand corner that'll get you to the invite link.
Cool.
It says Beam in Live. Woo!
Excellent. Well, so I guess we're just chatting. You know what I mean at this point, because we still have a few kinks to work out. Still have um, a few particulars, to be able to use this stream effectively. But we'll keep working on it. Um, excellent. Well, that's what I wanted to share. I'm going to get to my drawings and stuff. I hope that you enjoy your drawings as well. Again, think of your drawing in different stages, right? Do the thumbnails. Do that initial step where you are able to put in some rough shapes. And then what you may find is that through that practice daily, that you're going to have a whole library of possibilities. Um, there's creature.
It worked.
It does work. Are you streaming it in the background?
Yes, you gotta turn off the stream in the
No.
background, otherwise there'll be an echo.
Oh, I just turned it off.
Hello? Oh,
Can you
right.
hear me?
Ooh. Is
Do
it
I got
on
the
YouTube,
echo?
maybe? Mhm.
It was.
See if you can turn YouTube down.
Yeah, if it's playing in the background, then we get the echo panic.
Oh, we lost Spirit. Oh, we lost Creature. All right. Well, this has been a blast. Oh, there you are.
Okay. Did that work?
I don't know.
Hello?
No.
Test.
Sorry.
You might try headphones. Do you have
Um,
headphones? Like anybody beaming in should be using headphones too.
We'll try the
But
headphones out and
we
see
could
if
end
that
the show
works
though.
out.
We could have people. We could set up like another testing time for people to try to beam in and test out their tech too.
We will. Echo is back. Yes, the echo is back. Can you hear us,
Thank
Creature?
you.
Ah,
Yes.
we got the echo back. All right, we're gonna end it this time for sure. Thank you everybody for bearing with us today. It was thank you Creature for coming. Thank you Spirit for coming. Thank you Gabe for for being in the background. For everything's running as smoothly as possible. We'll keep working on it. But yeah, that's this has been Drawing for Tattooers. I'm James Wisdom, and I hope that you all have happy drawing, and we'll see you next stream. All right, bye.